we've been given a task to create our best 11 of signings since Fergie for United, obviously.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this, actually.
Yeah, it was a bit
of a trip down memory lane for some of these as well.
It was tough. Levi doesn't think we'll have the same.
No. And obviously, only signings, not players that were potentially around and played well. You know, so like, for example, when we go on to the goalkeeper immediately, we've not got David De Gea in there, although in that era, he has been the best goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But it has to have been signings that have been made. I've judged mine solely, it's my preference anyway, so there's no like stats in here where I say, he has this goal output, blah, 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 none of that.
So we've basically said it's how we think they've performed in our eyes, and maybe a bit of it as how they've performed for United. And
right. I think so. So an example I'll make is maybe when we get into it, but there's some high-profile players we've signed, which realistically are better players than some people I've got in this team. But I think these players in my team had more of an impact for Manchester United, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've gone with it.
Okay. So we'll do position. We'll both call out each position. Yeah. So who have you got in that?
Sergio Romero.
Yeah.
I think that's not to put a horrible stinker on Onana. I think it's too early, and I don't think he started well.
Romero is the best second keeper I've ever seen.
There was a point pre-Emi Martinez where he was Argentina's number one, despite the fact he was basically our cup goalkeeper and bench goalkeeper. So I thought he was absolutely outstanding at his time at United. I think the club treated him poorly.
Yeah.
He was our goalkeeper for the Europa League under Mourinho that we won. And I thought every time he was called upon, he played well. So when we've had to look at this, I'm pretty happy we've both got him. I didn't think there was a world where we would have had a different one, because obviously David De Gea is the most successful and was still good for the majority of the time post Fergie, but he was already Fergie signed.
Yeah, Fergie signed him. Yeah.
So when you look at it, you've got Romero, you've got Onana, and other than that, De Gea was the first goalkeeper all that time.
Tom Heaton.
So we signed a lot of backups, but
you didn't.
But Romero was that good and did get a lot of pitch time, so I think he deserves that shout. I think it's an easy pick.
If Romero, if we didn't have Romero, didn't buy him, whatever, it'd probably have to be Onana, because the others
you just have to put him in because he's played more games. But I'm not saying that he couldn't eclipse what Sergio Romero achieved. You'd hope that your starting goalkeeper can go on and do more than what your cup competition goalkeeper succeeded. But at the point that we're recording this, he started poorly. I think he's showed his qualities at times, but I can't put him above Romero right now, when he never really failed us when he got the option to play, and he managed to lift some silverware. So it's an easy pick, I think.
Yep. So right back. I have a feeling you're not going to pick Delo.
Well, we'll talk about that actually. Where is my notes for this? I know who it is, but I want to just get this up so I'm prepared. So, right back, I have picked Aaron Wan-Bissaka, sort of begrudgingly. I don't think we've had a good right back, out and out right back, post Fergie. And I think when Wan-Bissaka was playing well, which he did play well for the first season, and we've seen good performances out of him, bar that, I do think he's good. Do I think he's the future of Manchester United or good enough? No. And to give Delo some credit, I think he's on a bit of a run of 3-4 games where I think he's been much, much improved.
Yes.
But I can't put him in on that basis right now.
No,
For me, not on my preference, I can't put him in. I've talked a lot of shit about him on here, and I think he's been a lot worse than he's been good yet. But the good has started to look a lot better.
He's getting better now.
And I would now be starting him over Wan-Bissaka easily, the way he's performing at the moment. Best right back post Fergie, I still can't pick him right now.
So
for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Wan-Bissaka, just because Wan-Bissaka was winning us games under Oli.
He was. He had some good performances. I don't think he ended up being the transfer that we'd hoped he'd be.
No,
because he was very young when we signed him from Palace. He's still not. He's not that old now. But
like the massive games, like against City, he was making these last ditch tackles, like to save us conceding 90th minute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he was winning us games.
I've seen him put some good performances in. Obviously, there's been a few games where he's not been as effective. He's had spells on the sidelines where the managers haven't fancied him.
Yeah.
But all in all, he's still probably the pick right now in terms of that era. Probably the best signing for that position.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about the club, really. And I think some of these picks that we get along the way will also
Yeah.
read
So
into that.
I'll do this one first before we go into centre back. So we'll take the left back then.
Yeah,
Easy.
this was one of the easier ones. Wasn't it?
Easy.
It's Luke Shaw.
Yes.
Even, Van Gaal signing, I believe.
It was, yeah.
He's been at the club a long time now, I'm sure. Did we sign him in 2014?
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like 2014, I think it was, 15.
I still think on his day, he's one of the best left backs in the league.
He is very underrated. Every single other team's fans, basically. So I saw loads of like Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool fans all saying like, what are United fans going on about Shaw for? He's so bad. He's like literally, I'd probably rate him the best in the league at the minute.
I think he's the best at the minute,
but like
I think when he's playing and how he played last season, when you look at the competition, obviously he's out injured again, which is something maybe we have to talk about. But
yeah,
when you look at the left backs in the league now, and this is an argument I would make, and not even just the United bias here, but when people do this, no United players would get in the City lineup. I kind of agree with it for the most part. Luke Shaw's someone that does for me. I know Nathan Ake does well there. He's not a left back.
No, sure.
And
does.
I know that Pep manages to play in that kind of way. And I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it all fits in. Luke Shaw starts for every team in the Premier League, I think. Robertson was better than him on his day. I think that day's gone. I don't think City have had a good left back for years. When did they last sign one? I think Chilwell's competition, but he's as injury prone as Shaw is, if not worse. And Chelsea aren't in a good state right now. And I don't think he's got much competition bar that. I think he is a level higher than any of the other players. There's some good ones out there and maybe some hot prospects that can improve, but I think he's comfortably the best left back in the league.
Honestly, I've just had a thought then, and I completely agree with you. I think he gets in every single team.
I think he does, because you look at Arsenal maybe argue about Zinchenko.
No,
there's
no
a
chance.
reason. There's a reason that Guardiola let him go. I'm not saying he's a poor player by any stretch, but to me, he's not a comfortable left back. He can do you a job there, but Luke Shaw is comfortable going forward defensively.
Shaw can play centre back, full back.
He's improved a lot, because if you're looking at it in the whole span of his Manchester United career, he started really well. He had the horrible injury that saw him out for best part of 12 months. I don't know. It was a long time. Mourinho never really liked him. I thought that was the end of his United career then. Mourinho calling him out, played Ashley Young there all the time. And then he just came into his own. I don't know if it was under Solskjaer or when he started sort of playing again.
Yeah.
And I don't think since then his levels really dropped. I think when he's available, the big problem is the injuries. We can't seem to keep him fit. And under Solskjaer, we managed to get him going again. Picks up an injury last year. Or did he start this season? I feel like he didn't.
Yes.
Did start the season, gets an injury, he's out for several months, and he's out again.
He's got a cracking cross on him as well.
But I think he's improved a lot. It's an easy pick because he's someone that's amassed a lot of caps during his time since he's been signed. He's been there a long time. We've also not the ones we've signed there. We signed Alex Telles for competition for Luke Shaw. I think a lot of people were excited about that. I was excited about Alex Telles.
To be fair, Alex Telles was doing well for a bit, and then Shaw it must have been the competition, because Shaw upped his ability there.
It did kick him up the arse, and there was a point where Brandon Williams was getting played. Before Brandon Williams, I felt looked all right when he first come in and they started playing him. He deserved to play.
Were you two centre backs?
I'm not 100% sure these would work well together, so this isn't very. What's the right word? It's not a very realistic pairing. You couldn't use this team, I don't think. But I struggled on this.
You haven't got two left backs, two left footers, have you?
I think so. But I'm not 100% sure.
Right, so have you got Rojo and...
No, Rojo's not made it in. I do love that bastard, but he's not made it in.
I thought you loved him. You've got Martinez, right?
I've got Martinez, and he's one of the few players in here that haven't been signed that long. I just think I'm going out on a bit of a whim there. I don't think the centre-backs have succeeded as much as we'd liked, all of the signings that we've made. I think he instantly made an impact that we've not seen in a long time. I like his fight. I like his mentality. Again, I'm a bit worried about the injuries that he's picked up so far, but what I've seen from him, when he did string games together, he's comfortably the best centre-back I've seen at United since the good days.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a world where I want to put a certain man in here. I haven't done.
So who have you put in?
I've put in Martinez and Daley Blind.
Yeah, that won't work.
No. But I think Daley Blind is the second best centre-back we've had post-Fergie.
Okay, so this is very strange because the man I've put in, I don't really rate as well, and you love him. So this is really strange.
You put Maguire in?
Yeah.
I love that for you. I love it. If it's my personal pick, I have him in because I really like the guy. I think he is having a bit of a return to form.
No centre backs have done well coming to our club. Daley Blind was a good shout, but
he won some trophies. Is why I'm sort of putting him in there.
Okay,
the period of time we had him, he played in a holding role. We played him at centre back, and I'm giving him a bit of credit there because I think centre back at the time was a transitional change for him. He's gone on to play centre back again after leaving Manchester United. But as far as I was aware, that was us asking him to do a different duty, and I thought he did quite well when he was paired with Chris Smalling.
But I just looked at it as like I couldn't put two left footers in there.
No, I agree. I looked at it and I thought this stinks, but I also thought it was a different take because I feel like he's a bit forgotten. The guy actually isn't notoriously a centre back. I know he has played a majority of his career in and out of that position now. Victor Lindelof, I can't quite do it. I think there's been a lot more lows than highs.
He had a really good season under Ollie, but then like you can't really say anything else. So.
Eric Bailly, what could have been?
If Bailly didn't have all the injuries, I really think he could have been something.
I 100% agree, and I don't think there's any bias or anything that goes into that. There was games I watched him play. He was dominant. He was fast.
Yeah,
he's a bit erratic, almost in the way he held the ball.
Imagine Eric Bailly and Martinez at the back.
It'd be absolute chaos. Yeah, I mean,
honestly, I'd love it. You're free in midfield then.
Okay, so again, not really thinking about how this team's going to play. Central positions, you just play these where you want, I guess. I've got Ander Herrera, Fred, and Bruno Fernandes.
You have Fred in there?
Yeah, easily. Because there's only another central player that I'll have in, and he's not playing in the centre in this team.
So do you want to know mine then? Because it's way off yours.
Oh, that's worrying me.
Right, so I've got... So I'll explain it before you grill me, yeah? Fellaini... No, I'm joking.
I'd let you go for that.
I've got Casemiro. I've got Pogba. And I've got Bruno.
The Pogba one I can't get behind.
Pogba won us the comeback against City. I think Pogba...
Sanchez had the same impact in that game for me as Pogba did. He was involved in all 3 goals.
Yeah, but I just think Pogba's shown his class in moments. He just hasn't managed to like certify it in consistent basis.
I think for the length of time he lingered around like a bad fart, and for it being potentially one of the worst transfers in football history, he doesn't even make the honourable mentions of my list.
Oh, God.
I would sooner Fred got a 10-year contract than we'd have seen him play another year. And I don't even hate Paul Pogba. That made it sound like I was so against that. I think Pogba is like
the best in ability-wise that we've probably signed.
I think in terms of central player in recent years, I would agree. We never really saw it. I probably saw it 5 times in 5 years. I don't know how long he actually played for the club. I think
it's better than putting Fred in, though.
I think that Fred, for the last 2 years of his contract, proved why we spent 50 million on him in the first place.
Yes.
And I think he'd be doing the same now if he was still playing. They sold him at the worst time.
Do you know why I couldn't put McTominay or Fred in? Because it got linked together.
Well, McTominay, you can't.
Because we had them years where it was just like McFred, like how it was just like...
Well, it's more of a meme because we were playing badly. There's a reason that all these managers called upon that partnership because nothing else seemed to work.
No.
Bruno picks himself. He's the best post-Fergie signing. No debate.
No debate.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Ander Herrera, for me, I was just a huge fan of him. I loved his work rate. I thought he had a goal in him. He was a bastard. I have good memories of him playing for the team.
I tell you what, I was close to doing Casemiro and Ander Herrera.
Yeah.
I was close to doing that. I just really... I'm not going to say I really liked Pogba. I just thought his ability-wise was, when you go and see Pogba live, you could see he was really good.
But the reason I've not put Casemiro in is because of how short a time he's been there. I actually think he was brilliant last year.
I already think he's done big moments already. But
he did, and he scored a goal in the final, which is the first trophy we've won in a number of years. There's a multiple games. Like, there's a talk when we were going into that Arsenal game without him, and it was the biggest part of our season. We didn't have Casemiro going into that Arsenal game. Yeah. That's how well he was playing, and I'm not quick to forget that. But I'm just giving somebody like Fred here his flout. And Herrera and Bruno were nailed in this midfield for me, by the way. There was only one spot up for grabs. And to begin with, I didn't have Fred, I had someone else. Casemiro doesn't get in on the basis that what I've seen from him this season hasn't been fantastic. Again, I'm looking at there's potential injury issue here that might be upcoming. We've had yellow cards and red cards galore, and I still don't think we've necessarily seen game in, game out the player we signed from Madrid.
Well, the last 4 games, though, I think Casemiro's been really good. He's looked back to his
better. Yeah, the start of the season, he was a horror show.
Yeah.
And he didn't...
But he was all horror shows.
He had kind of games like that last year as well.
Yeah.
Although I think on the whole he was great, and he's the best signing we've made in that position. If you're looking at it from... You had to put a defensive player in.
Midfield, yeah.
I just looked at it like I'm putting a midfield 3. And, I mean, you could probably play Ander Herrera at the back there. You could play Fred there as well. Would he be as good as Casemiro? No. I didn't think of my team like that. But Fred, I'm just giving him his plaudits. I think the guy got disrespected, memed. He got the Harry Maguire treatment, maybe not as bad, by United fans and football fans alike for the majority of his United career. And I think, all in all, was the signing a failure? I don't actually think it was. When you look at his time at United as a whole now, we can say that because he left.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was like, this guy stinks. Why have we not got rid of him already? And he sort of had the chance to redeem it because he stuck around so long.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba, by the way, I mean, I watched the club do a video on this, and I'll say my piece on this right now, considering you've got him in your team. Paul Pogba to Manchester United and his performances at Manchester United represent everything wrong with the football club post-Fergie. And for that alone, I couldn't put him in this team. The biggest character, biggest manager, most successful manager in football in this country, as of right now, Sir Alex Ferguson, didn't like his attitude. Said that in his autobiography. The guy goes on a free to get first team football. Looks formidable at Juventus. We later see him be good for France as well. But at this point in time, formidable for Juventus. People are sniffing round. Manchester United get the signing. World record fee. Already a bit embarrassing that you've signed a player on a world record fee that came from your academy. That represents everything financially and structurally wrong with Manchester United.
It's not his fault though, right?
No, I'm not putting this on Paul. I'm just talking about this as a piece of business. He then comes back. I'm not going to read too much into this. Do we see some of the attitude problems that Sir Alex Ferguson alluded to? I think so.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with him or not, I don't take Pogba's side. Do I hate Paul Pogba? No. But I'll stand in the middle on that for the sake of the argument I'm making. I think he then represents one of the biggest turning points in the structure and the accepted structure post-Ferguson at United. He changed the ethos of players being bigger than the manager. I think Pogba and a few others in the dressing rooms is the reason Mourinho got sacked.
Yes, I do think the Pogba, Lingard, the Rashford, I think everyone looked to Pogba and they all had a bad attitude with him. But let's not forget, Ronaldo had a bad attitude when he came back.
I can't compare the two because Ronaldo can have a bad attitude for me.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know. But
Pogba didn't earn that right.
Yeah, I know he gets a pass because he's like one of the greatest ever played.
And I don't think his attitude was ever like that.
He left games early.
That's
Dallo followed him. It was a bad influence.
But I don't think that's anywhere near as bad as the Pogba's impact in terms of Ronaldo never strictly went against Ten Hag openly. He was unhappy
until he goes to his mate Pears.
Yeah, but at that point, I don't think that's anything to do with the manager. It was completely against the club.
Yeah.
He didn't have respect for the manager. But at this point, the club structure's already changed. Do you know what I mean? You can compare the two. I disagree. As much as I see the likenesses, I disagree because I think Ronaldo's earned the right to do that. Pogba hasn't. And at this point, Pogba's done this, and this is the first time I think you've ever seen a player get away with it and the manager not get the backing from the club. You know, when it was Fergie, players stepped out of line, they were gone. Didn't matter how important they were.
So if you was a manager, right, do you think any players earn a right to be...
No, I'm not saying that. But if you looked at it, and Cristiano Ronaldo would be one of the most celebrated footballers of all time. And then you look at Paul Pogba, who basically got called a fraud for his Manchester United career. You look at them too, and I agree. I think the manager has the final say. That's my personal opinion on it. If one of those two players is going to go against the manager, I've got a bit more time for the one that's had a successful career in football than
that.
Paul Pogba at that point in time.
Yeah.
But I'm more coming to the point that Ronaldo did that. Pogba had already done it first. Do you know what I mean? It represents everything wrong with United at that point in time where the manager always got the backing from the board, fell out with Beckham, Beckham was gone.
Yeah.
Ronaldo wanted to go, Ronaldo had gone. Fell out with Keane, Keane was gone.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba stays, Mourinho goes.
Yeah.
That was the change. Aside from all that as well being involved, he then, would you say I would say Paul Pogba to Manchester United, was it a failure? No. Was it a success? No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was a pretty poor transfer. Was it a failure for a world record fee? Yes. Was it a failure for a world record fee for a player that you already had for free and then let go for free again? Worst business decision in football, period.
In terms of business, yeah. Business, I completely agree with you.
I can't put him in there based on, I think, when you look at everything all together, and his characters...
Didn't he win the same as Ander Herrera? He's like won the same amount of stuff as all these other midfielders.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I've got to look at it. Ander Herrera, I liked him as a character. I think he carried himself well.
If you was a manager, and if I was a manager, right, we wouldn't be picking Pogba, and I agree with that. We'd be picking Ander Herrera because he gives more...
I'd pick Fred before Pogba.
Right, okay.
I'd pick Scott McTominay before Pogba.
Right, I get that, right? I'm building this team of, like, who I think, like... Because I don't think there's been any standouts for midfielders. So I think Pogba is just as good as the rest. But if I was managing a club, I'd prefer the other lot.
Yeah, I can't... I've done it on the best...
If that makes sense.
The best signings, I can't... Even if we look at it as best signing, for the money and for the impact, and you had other players in the position that also got those trophies and all the things off the pitch, if we let that influence our decision or not. I mean, I was never going to pick him for my team. I can't quite justify it.
Yeah.
Is he the best midfielder we've signed post-Fergie in terms of technical ability? Probably without a shadow of a doubt. I do think Bruno's got great technical ability, but Pogba was a different level.
Yeah.
But it's just so disappointing. Maybe I'm a bit hurt about it when I think about it deep down.
I get that, because you see these players and the heights that they could have got to, and they just never went there just because of attitude and just think the ego it was as well. So
yeah, I think his attitude was poor. I don't think it was necessarily as bad as some people made out, and I do think people made a lot of stories about him that probably was unfair.
It didn't help because he was that sort of character that's like dancing,
it was like a recipe for disaster, the whole thing. He didn't have the impact that we wanted. I don't think it was all his fault.
Yeah.
I think the transfer was wrong from the start. It is what it is.
I honestly don't think we'll spend that much time on the midfield position, but yeah, it does.
Yeah, I put Fred in.
Okay.
You put Pogba in.
No, if we was going to compromise,
okay.
Right, if we was going to compromise, the midfield would probably be Casemiro, Herrera, and Bruno, maybe?
Pogba couldn't... I can't compromise to get Pogba
in. No. So Herrera, Casemiro, Bruno, how's that sound?
It'd be if we compromised it, that would be it, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a bit gutted for Fred missing out. But,
right.
You know, it is what it is.
If that was the talk on midfield, what's the forwards going to be like? Right, go on. Say you're from... go on. Say right wing, actually.
So my right wing is Juan Mata.
Same.
I had him in my...
Honestly, you cannot not put Mata in. He was so good.
And also, who else would you have put there?
I know. If you looked at right wingers...
I'd love Mata to be in here, but we do have to look at it, and I think Manchester United ruined Juan Mata.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for him.
The only way you could have, if you weren't putting Mata in, you'd have to go two strikers because there's no right winger.
On the right, like Anthony,
Sancho,
terrible. Sancho could play there, terrible. Dan James.
That's what I was thinking of. Dan James. I was like,
Di
this
Maria
is that bad.
Sometimes play on the right.
Yeah,
again, car crash.
He was, terrible.
Juan Mata, I think the highs were very high. You look at the length of time he spent at the club, he didn't get that many appearances.
No, but considering we ruined him, and I agree with you, we ruined a lot of players, but considering that point, he still had a really good career.
And also, he did still have a lengthy period of time being effective for Manchester United.
Yes.
But on the whole, I always look at it as I thought of these two players as exactly parallel at one point in terms of how good they were. And people might laugh at this now and some people might not. And David Silva and Juan Mata were on a very similar trajectory for me at one point in time.
Yes.
When he was at Chelsea and David Silva was pulling the strings. And obviously we saw David Silva continue to deliver.
I actually said that. I said if you put Mata's the same type of players.
They were
David
very
Silva, yeah.
techie. They weren't quick.
No.
They had an eye for ball. They could touch it well. They could nip it round players. They were very similar, I thought, in the traits that they both possessed.
Yeah.
And David Silva got to thrive and Juan Mata got strangled at Manchester United. And I'm not saying he would have gone on and had that success, but he had the ability to be that similar level.
Yeah, because City fans put David Silva up there as near enough the best.
I think some of them would say they're the best players ever played for
It does
him.
make you wonder because they were such the similar player to each other.
How good could he have
if he was at City instead? Yeah,
because the levels of performance he put up when he was at his best at Chelsea and sometimes at Manchester United, he was as good as that. But we never got to see it on a recurring basis for United
because we was up and down
because
performance-wise.
We got injured. We were poor.
Yeah,
we had different managers. Mourinho stopped playing him at Chelsea, then Mourinho comes into United.
Yeah.
He's then not. There's a problem there. I felt very sorry for him, and the guy conducted himself very well. Seems like a great bloke.
Yeah.
And I still think he gave us, last time we won at Anfield was probably when he scored them 2 goals.
95%, 96% of his United career was on the right anyway.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I think Juan Mata, I don't think, he was a right midfielder, right winger. Like, in my head, he is the sort of guy that should be playing
Bruno's position.
Yeah, behind the striker.
Yeah.
So he had to get in. It was where I put him.
I kind of want to go striker next because I think we've got the different left wings. I think we've got the same striker.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if we don't.
Go on.
Zlatan.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy pick.
Honestly, for the age that he was at when he was coming in, I was like, I don't know, and honestly, he surprised me.
He was the sort of player that I knew he was good, didn't really appreciate it until I saw it for my club. And especially, like you say, he was older.
A lot of foreign players, because obviously we're just notoriously watching Premier League, a lot of our fans are always like, these foreign players in other leagues, they're not as good, they've never done it in the Prem. He literally just proved it, that he could do it at 30. How old was he when he came?
35, do you think?
Yeah, he must have been that. But he's proved that he could do it at that age.
I think he came in, he proved everyone wrong, and one thing that I hold him so highly for is he was a big name. Obviously, he'd played in loads of clubs, so he'd proved he could play in different leagues, even before the Premier League. But he, at this point, I think, was the first player that had come in that was a big name that didn't flop.
Yeah.
And I still look at it now, there's not many that didn't flop. Some of these in the list I would consider kind of flops. Zlatan definitely was not that. I think the time we got with him, he was great.
Do you know what? It went downhill with Pogba and Mourinho when Zlatan was faded out.
But he got a bad injury as well, didn't he?
So when Zlatan got faded out, Mourinho and Pogba started the arguments, didn't they? And I actually think, because there was a good relationship between Pogba and Ibra, and I think Ibra kept Pogba in check.
Yeah. I think he did well. He scored goals from nothing. He scored different kinds of goals. Left foot, right foot, headers, outside the box, you name it. Complete striker.
Yeah.
Really impressed with him. Obviously, he gets a few trophies in his cabinet from United as well. He scored goals in every competition that we played in that year. Did he sign for 2 years? I can't really remember how long he stayed.
About 2 years, yeah.
But obviously, there's one standout year for me, really, there. When I think
the
back
first
to him.
one.
Yeah. And I think, we've signed a lot of strikers. I think there's a world where Højlund's got the potential to be the best striker signing if he has a good career at Manchester United.
If he decides to stay with us, I think he could be the best.
I think... who else? I think Ronaldo coming back. He did have a good season.
I think you had three choices here. Well, two main ones. So you had the Ibra and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
They both did fantastically well. But the other one that I would have thrown in there was Cavani. I thought he was great.
I absolutely loved him.
Yeah.
And it just annoyed me a bit, the whole, can't blame him for the COVID situation, but he then was like so adamant to play for Uruguay, which is fair enough. I get it, it's his country, but then it was like he missed 4 games for United because of he couldn't socialise, like the social distancing and all that. And then he was, I'm injured, and then he'd play for Uruguay and he'd get injured, and it was like the first season he was formidable, and then I feel like he lost that.
Well, he gave his number up for Ronaldo and it just went downhill.
It did, yeah. Obviously, there's a man that scored more than all of these that you could say is a striker, but I'd probably say he's a left winger. He doesn't get in for me, but...
Oh, Rashford?
No, you can't say he's not signing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Right, okay, we'll go on to left wing then.
And you might have this man in left wing.
Probably.
Anthony Martial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a cheat code here. I've got Garnacho. Hear me out.
Did the overhead kick put him in your team?
Oh no, I think he's immediately the best left-sided player if you count him as a signing, of which we signed him to the academy. Marcus Rashford's been at the academy for X amount of years. Scott McTominay at the academy for X amount of years. Garnacho only signed a year or two before he made his claim to play in the big team. So on that basis, I'm counting it as a signing. If not, I'd probably have to put Martial in as well.
No, I agree. I think the in terms of we did it on signings, he is a signing. He's not coming through the youth from a boy, is he? So,
and I'm not even trying to disrespect Martial here and banter him, because we've seen this guy perform.
Early years of Martial were good.
Even that COVID year, he was bagging, and I'm thinking this is the player we signed.
Don't get me wrong, I don't get how he's been here this long. He needed to be shipped off a while ago.
He was Van Gaal as well, was he?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been a long time.
But yeah, Martial, I think by far has been our best left winger.
You can't deny the goals. Obviously
he did move to striker, didn't he?
Rashford's been better than him.
Yeah,
but he's not in contention for this list because he's not a signing, as maybe Garnacho shouldn't be. I think it's fair enough to give him the chance here, and I would pick him above Martial on preference. I think Martial's probably achieved more, in fairness. I think he's been with us for the trophies we've won, because he's been at the club for fucking 10 years.
Yeah, he scored that late winner against Everton in the semi-final, the FA Cup, didn't he? He's just... I think his early days in United has done it for me.
And he had... But, the amount of time he's been at the club, this guy should be so highly up in our top scorers list by now.
He should have been winning his Ballon d'Or like he had in his contract.
They're never getting that money, Monaco, are they? I don't think we'll ever be paying him that. But, yeah, I think... Rightly so, he gets sort of treated quite poorly from the fans in terms of how they think about him now.
Well, I think he's got something to do with that. It's his attitude on the pitch. Run a bit. You like it. He
doesn't look interested.
Yeah, you're just walking around.
I thought we'd seen the end of him when he got the move to Sevilla, was it, that he went to?
Yeah, he got 1 goal.
Somehow ends up coming back and playing for us at the start of the season. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the attitude and stuff, and the fans are just so fed up of watching him play now.
Well, fans will turn on you if they feel you're not putting your effort in. So you've only got yourself to blame.
But what
happens to Rashford at the minute? He's not putting his effort.
I don't hate the pick. I don't think there's a good pool of players to pick there. Has Garnacho done more for United yet in his career than Martial? No. But I think in terms of the impact, in terms of the qualities we've seen, I'd be surprised if he doesn't do more.
Yeah.
So I'd put him in on that basis alone, even though, right now, as well as a best signing, it could prove to be a better signing than Martial. I would much hope in the long term that it's a better signing. But as of right now, you would have to say Martial is a better signing because he's delivered some silverware. He has scored a lot of goals for the club. Not as many as you'd hope in the performances in the time span he's been there.
Yeah.
But who else do you even have in that position? Obviously, Rashford came through the academy.
The wingers
Memphis,
were
did
tough.
he play on the left?
Yeah. He didn't do much.
No, he didn't hang around very long. When he did play, he looked okay at the start.
He was getting hailed as the next Ronaldo as well. I think that got to his head.
Januzaj was on the left, but again, academy product.
Academy, yeah.
So I think it's difficult. And I think Januzaj played for Fergie, or maybe not.
No,
that time's very difficult for me to think about.
Moyes brought him in.
I remember him coming in for Moyes, but I didn't know if he's already played for Ferguson or not.
I can't remember if he did.
I can't remember that, but he was looking like he was going to be the next big thing. You know, Garnacho could go down that route, and that wouldn't be very good. But I do think his ceiling's higher than what I've seen.
Yeah. Right,
That sums it up.
that went on longer than I thought for the best signings.
We
That.
set the absolute world to rights there.
Well done, Jammer. You probably don't agree with most of that, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
I've got Daley Blind and Fred in mind, so take it as you will.
I've got Paul Pogba, which you'll probably hate as well as Levi did.